Today's episode is brought to you by Musical Theater Radio's merch store. Looking for that perfect gift for someone or just want to treat yourself to some great musical theater themed merch? Head to musicaltheaterradio.com and click on the All Things Theater button on the homepage and check out all the different designs available. And now, today's interview. Welcome back to another episode of Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio. I am your host, as always, Jean-Paul Jovanoff. Today is another Discover a New Musical edition where you, the listener, and me, the host, get to learn about a new show together. In the musical A New Song and Dance, it's 2019 New York City, and two tap dancing brothers, Paul and Mickey, have been going around the city doing their top tap dance vaudeville act with not much success. Mickey believes in the act, Paul, not so much. But Paul has been secretly writing songs and has to figure out some way to balance his newfound passion and budding friendship with Maggie, a singer-songwriter he met at an open mic, with the act that means so much to his brother. Today, to tell us a little bit more about the show, as well as the studio cast recording release that went out in December of 2024, is its creator, Michael Verre. Hello, Michael. How are you today?
Doing great. Very excited to be here.
Awesome, Michael. So before we get into the show, I always ask for a 30-second bio because we got to get to know who you are before we get into everything. So who is Michael in 30 seconds?
Oh man, loaded question. No, so I am I guess an artist based in New York City. I'm a writer as well as a performer. I definitely got into the industry as a performer, doing musical theater. Getting cast in a lot of your classic tap dance shows, your Thoroughly Modern Millies, your Singing in the Rains, all that stuff. But I was also a musician. I got into that very much in college. And then around maybe 5 years ago, I took the step into fully getting into writing something and have sort of transitioned more into songwriting and writing scripts, plays, things like that. But I didn't, and I don't always make this connection. I did major in English, so I'm sure some of that sort of plays. As much as I rejected that post graduation, and I was like, and I am an actor and I'm a performer and I don't need this academia. It seems to have made its way back into my life, and it's all sort of coalesced into what I'm doing these days.
Nice. So were you always into musical theater growing up, or is that something you discovered a little bit later in life? What was the impetus?
Yeah, I was always into it. I'm an only child, and my parents, I think, out of fear that I would be maybe not social or kind of have the quote unquote only child syndrome, they stuck me into every hobby they could get me into. I played piano, I played baseball, I did archery, a million things. And theater and musical theater in particular was the thing that stuck, through all the years.
Nice. So, and you said you did a lot of performing, right? You said you did the tap dancing
Mhm.
and everything like that. So, what was the turn from performing to writing? Was there an instance, or it kind of just gradually happened?
I think I had always, without any kind of evidence, had always thought maybe one day that would be something. But then, in retrospect, I got really into maybe post college, I got really into making YouTube videos and being a creative in that way. And then also in college, I would put together and produce shows. Like I remember there was something that happened when I was in college about, I guess, 12 years ago, Superstorm Sandy. It was a big storm that hit New York. And myself and a bunch of friends, we put together this big benefit concert. And, at that point, that was like the most fulfilled I ever was artistically. It was like amazing to feel like that we were moving towards a purpose, but we also were able to be all creative and sort of, you know, not bring light to something, but just kind of use our talents, I
Mhm.
guess, to benefit something. So in retrospect, it's like, okay, that was a big something I loved. I loved making these videos and choreographing all these tap dance tap dances to like modern trendy songs. And then, so if you kind of take all those ingredients and you put them together, you become someone who I think becomes a theater maker.
Yeah. So now you have to tell us, what was the YouTube channel like? You can't leave us hanging on that. What was that back in the day?
So I started making these like 30-second or maybe 1 minute tap dance videos in my parents' back porch. I had this board and I would just like, throw my phone up and I think I did like, I would do Hamilton ones, I would do Moana, would do La La Land ones. And people liked them and it was good. I would get all these views and these nice comments and it was like, oh, this is fun. It's not a big like monetary adventure. You're just getting views. It's more for your ego, really. But no, but it's like it allowed for me to stretch creatively, both choreographically and kind of visually, and what kind of story are we telling? So that was a big focus for me for a while.
Cool. Well, let's talk about the show. Another song and dance. Tell us, what was the synopsis first of all, and what was the impetus for writing it in the first place?
So it was conceived by myself and a friend. We were kind of just like, I don't know, talk. He's primarily a writer, and he knew me as like a performer and a tap dancer, and we kind of just were like going back and forth on this idea of what it would be like if there was like an older guy and a younger guy and they had this tap dance act, and what it would be like to try to do it now. um and then like he's push and pulled, he's pulled between doing this act and his own kind of songwriting. And then when it became something that I was writing solely, that's when sort of the brother came in and the romance sort of blossomed in the show. Spoiler alert, apparently. And yeah, and then I really leaned into um, the the themes are very autobiographical. The show is not. Like I mentioned before, I'm an only child, so there's no like people see it and they're like, where did you get, how do you know how brothers talk? And I'm like, I talk to people, I don't know. But the themes of like figuring out like navigating expectations as an artist, with you know the people in your life, with also the expectations you have for yourself, and how do you assimilate all the parts of yourself to feel like the most authentic version of yourself, which is really the journey that was writing the show for me. I had this performer aspect of me, I had this sort of creative other, that like separate aspect of me, I had the songwriting on the side, and then it all kind of came together really kind of accidentally. I wasn't like, how do I mush all these things together? I just started writing the show, and then as I was writing it, the main character more and more had a lot of the themes and the feelings that I was having. And, I always say when people ask this, it was very cool. I saw Stephen Sondheim talk at my college. And one of the things he said was, you got to write what you know. And that's something that's echoed in the new Tick, Tick, Boom movie. And I was like, all right, if this is the first thing that I'm ever writing, why not lean into what my truth is in this moment? I
Mhm.
mean, at the very least, it's going to be authentic. At the very least, it's not going to be contrived. Even if it's not something huge and epic and fantastical, it's my truth in this moment. And I think every time we've done it, we found something really nice and poignant and simple and heartfelt.
That is great advice too from Sondheim, like because we all do it. I know I did it with my first show that I wrote. It's not autobiographical, but there's enough of me in the character, right? You go, yeah, I know, yeah, yeah. So I'm curious about your writing process. You're writing the lyrics, you're writing the book, you're writing everything. How does it work for you? Are you a lyrics first, a music first? Are you at the same time? How does that work with you?
That's really interesting. In writing songs outside of the show, I think I don't even know if it's lyrics or music first, but I know with writing with the show where I was like, okay, where are these characters at?
Mhm.
And I definitely always led with that. So I sort of always knew I would chase a feeling and kind of say, all right, this is what I want. the character, or this is what the character's feeling right now. This is the feeling I want the audience to have in this moment and experience from the show. And then sort of, I guess the music would probably come first, because I think being a tap dancer, I'm like, all right, what is the rhythm of this thing? What is the vibe? What meter is it in? Things like that. Um, but I will say the text around the song, like whatever's in the scene, that will often dictate what the lyrics are. So there's like, I think, some seeds planted of lyrics first, but the music kind of pulls them out and nurtures them into being something.
Tell us a little bit about the production history. When exactly did it start, and the processes you've gone through, workshops, etc.
So this was my COVID baby. This was my, when I had all the time in the world, like a lot of us did. Um, this is what kept the artistic spark going. Uh, and if I'm being honest, I don't know if I ever would have really given myself the space to write this if I didn't have all that time, because as actors we're so caught up in, well, how many auditions are we going on this week, and we have to take this class, or we have to go network with these people, and then plus working a side job. So in having all of this time, I was able to write it and really allow myself the space to do that. It was like maybe like a third done, maybe like at the end of 2019. And then I was like, okay, this will be something at some point. And then I had all the time. And then it sort of really came together in about a year. Um, and did some Zoom readings and stuff. And then in 2022, we were a part of a New Works Festival on the Lower East Side in New York City. And that was very cool. I was very lucky to have amazing friends and collaborators on that show. And they really, really brought it to life in a way that I never would have imagined, which was so cool. And we also had a bit of a restriction that was daunting but helpful. So the show was about maybe like an hour and 50 minutes. Um, but when we got accepted to the festival, they were like, it has to be 90 minutes or you can't do it. So I went, oh my God. So it was a great exercise for me to, all right, what's like kill your darlings kind of thing. So I
Yeah.
really was like, all right, we had to knock out a lot of stuff, and we got it down to like 90 minutes on the dot, cut this song, but whatever it may be. Um, but then in terms of a process, I was like, okay, well, what did I really miss and what did I not miss? So that was good. And then some stuff went back in, some stuff didn't go back in. Uh, Continued to do rewrites on that. Um, Performed at some concerts here and there. Actually, this is maybe a full circle YouTube thing. I made a short dance film of one of the of the climactic number of the show with a collaborator of mine, the great Tim Fuchs. Um, and that was a finalist at the Astoria Film Festival. So that was a cool, new kind of lane for me and for the show. And then about 2 weeks ago, we did a workshop and a presentation up in Syracuse, New York at Red House Arts Center, which was fantastic.
That's great. That's fantastic. You're right. I'm always curious because when we're writing our stuff, it lives in our head and we see it and it's perfect in our head. But once it gets out of our head and into the hands of others, like for example, either the festival that was, the New York or the Syracuse one, was there a moment in the show when it got into the hands of somebody else that you went, I didn't think of that, or they created something that you went, oh wow, or the audience reacted. I'd love to hear a little bit about, something that surprised you.
Yes, that's great. So even in you speaking about process, something that I found was good in writing, this being one of my first writing endeavors, is I had people in mind, friends of mine, for these roles.
Mhm.
So I was able to kind of imagine their cadence and the way that they spoke and their inflections. And that helped me have these characters feel like not four versions of Michael. It was like, oh, you sound like this person. You sound like, so they all sounded very distinctive, even though they all came from me, because I really had in mind um, people when I was writing it. And then when we did it in 2022, I was in it. I was in it both times. But two of the three that I wrote it for were in it. So there was them doing an amazing job, uh, but doing it in a way that I imagined. And then the fourth character was so different from the guy I wrote it in mind for. So that was such a huge what like he was the other guy was so bombastic who I wrote it for, and this guy was so dry, and it was such a 180, and it was so wonderful. So that was like such a great surprise. But then when we did it in Syracuse, it was a completely 2 weeks ago. It was a completely new cast, and it was so cool to see how different their takes were. And it's a lesson um, in trust, I think, in knowing that like you get good people in the room and they're going to take, as for the writer, and they're going to take your material and they're going to do great and different things and their own things. And yeah, there were jokes where I didn't even know there were jokes sometimes, like things like that. Poignant moments where I didn't even know they were so poignant. Like especially being in the show and being in the scenes where I'm in an argument with someone and they hit me with a line that I didn't even think was going to be as pointed. And I'm like, oh, okay, wow, great.
I'm always curious when you're writing your songs, and I always ask this of writers, was there a song that just was so easy for you that just flowed out? It took you no difficulty at all. And then was there a song that you went, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? How am I going to make this work? I'm curious about your process of getting through both of those.
Yeah, that's great. So my like elevator pitch for the show is that it's set in New York City, and it is one part Singing in the Rain, one part Once the musical set in the world of your favorite New York City sitcom. So I say the like the Once and the Singing in the Rain stuff because Singing in the Rain you have all this tap dancing, you have this tap dance duo, very
Mhm.
iconic from that. We definitely mirror that. And then with Once you have this sort of love story through music, and it's about artists. I mean, Singing in the Rain is about artists too, but it's like, so the songs are performed not as like traditional musical theater. They're not like a musicalized scene.
Mhm.
They're more they more exist to highlight or reflect or mirror what's going on internally for the characters or what's happening in the scenes.
Mhm.
Um, and what was your question? Oh, okay, great. So there, in doing that, there are definitely a couple of songs that are very close to their original iterations. Um, is Are specific songs? Do you want me to mention those?
It's sure.
I could definitely mention specific. Yeah, great. So the opening number is called "Not About the Shoe." It's our or it's not about the shoe. It's about the laces. It's our Moses supposes type number. It's you know chock full of puns, chock full of tap dancing. It opens the show, um, and I think that one came very quickly. Uh, and also I feel like that really set the tone because there's such a clear idea of what it is, and then the moment in the show is they perform this big number, big tap dance finish, flourish, pose, and then the lights change and we realize they're not on this huge beautiful proscenium stage. They're actually in one guy's apartment and they're doing it for the roommate, and the roommate goes, I don't get it. And it's like that immediately sets the tone of what this is. So that was a song that came out super easily and hasn't changed much. That was really clear. And then there are a bunch of other songs that are like the like third or fourth version, or even third or fourth completely new song. Um, because like especially the like the love duet, like that was, like I said, I wanted these songs to reflect what these characters were feeling. So in early iterations of the show where I didn't delve as deep emotionally between like the two lover characters, where it was maybe like just a little newer, a little more flirty or something, so the song was a little boppier and a little bit more surfacey. And then in a newer version of the script they were like delving a little deeper. So I wrote a new song that was a little bit more vulnerable. And then in the version that it's in now, it's like they really like fall for each other. So then I had to write a big sort of sweeping song in 6/8, and so I really had to sit and be like, all right, got to scrap this one. All right, I got to scrap this one because it's not serving the show. It's not serving the scene. So in those moments, That's a little more difficult. Is saying, is this good enough or is this not good enough?
Yeah.
Or is not, is not good enough. Is this right enough or is it not right enough? You know?
Yeah, we write so many songs. We've with the number of songs you write, it's almost like another show and a second show and a third show that you've written enough work for. And it's crazy
Totally.
how much we do. Tell us a little bit about the studio cast recording. How did that come about?
Yeah, so that started with we did the show in 2022, and I thought, all right, what are things that would help us kind of pitch this in the world? So we said, all right, well, what if we did two or three songs in the studio and sort of made something that sounded really nice, and we could use that for emails. So then we did that, and it was great, and got such a lovely response. And then it's it's like an it's like a it, you start to it's like poison ivy. You get an itch, you're like, oh, I want to go back. What if we did this one? So then I went back, we did another one, and we added some more instruments and a little bit more orchestration. It was like, oh wow, I didn't think it could sound like this. This is great. Oh, all right. Well, all right. What about another one? And then another one. And then once we got through like five, I was like, let's just do a whole thing. This is silly. Like you get to a point
Yeah.
and you go and you do the whole thing. And then you have a sort of complete package that you can be proud of. Um, yeah. So so that's good. And then also like the process of recording is interesting because you can really sort of layer things in and you can really start to think about the mix and the balance of stuff and sort of pull out different musical lines and have them kind of shine. And yeah, you're more in control sonically of it all, and it kind of shapes the songs, and you hear the songs in a new way, even like differently than I imagine them in my head, which is very cool.
Tell us, were the other two performers on the cast recording, were they a part of one of the other, the festival or the Syracuse, or were they just friends that you brought in? How that?
They were a part of the festival, the 2022 one. So
Nice.
they were was and they're also friends and so generous with their time and so wonderfully talented and so really honored that they're on this recording, and like I'm just trying to keep them up most of the time, really.
Well, congratulations on the show, the cast recordings. It sounds great as well. So, how do people learn more about the show? The websites, the socials, how to get the studio cast recording, etc. All that fun information.
Yeah, we have a new song and dance Instagram. It's just a new song and dance, and you could also go for my Instagram if you are interested about me. It's Michael J. Verre. But yeah, so we have the Instagram. I'm all over YouTube. We're starting up a YouTube for the show. We have a website that's linked to the Instagram. So yeah, it's I would say that the Instagram is probably the way to go, is like the gateway to just about everything.
Very cool. Well, again, congratulations on the show. I look forward to seeing where it goes in the future. And if you ever get a production on, you let us know. We'll promote the heck out of it for you.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right. So we were just speaking with Michael Verre, the creator of the musical A New Song and Dance, which you can find the cast recording in all the places that you find your show tunes and things like that. And yeah, if you see a new show, go support it. All new shows need support because today's new shows are tomorrow's classics. So go out and seek them out and support them. All right, tune in next week as we speak with another guest or a guest about their life, love, and passion that is musical theater. I am your host, as always, Jean Paul Yovanov, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.